Hi everyone and welcome. My name is Mr. S. I'm a primary school teacher here to help you with some of the tricky things in school. Now today we're going to look at the 2026 SATs reasoning questions, but we're only going to look at the trickiest ones, the ones right at the end of the paper, the ones that are worth extra couple of marks. Now this is part one. There's going to be part two coming soon as well with the other tricky questions from the other SATs reasoning paper, because obviously there's two every year. So let's jump straight into it. Now, if you've seen me do my worded problems before, you'll know that I always use rucksack over here. Read the question first, underline the important bits, choose which operation I need to do, solve it, find the answer, and then check at the end. So we're jumping straight into question 21. Again, those last few questions that are worth more marks. I'm going to start by reading and underlining the important bits. So let's look at the question. Kirsty mixes blue paint and yellow paint. 2/5 of her mixture is blue paint. She uses 3.5 litres of blue paint. How many litres of yellow paint does Kirsty use? Now, knowing that 2/5 of it here is the mixture that is blue paint, in total, blue paint plus yellow paint, so blue plus the yellow, is going to be 5/5. As I already know that 2/5 is blue paint, then I know that the rest, which is 3/5, is going to be the yellow paint. Now, unfortunately, that doesn't get me the answer just yet. So let's work out what 1/5 is equal to. Because if I can work out what 1/5 is equal to, then I can move on to working out what 3/5 is. Okay, so if 2/5 here, we know that 2/5 is 3.5, then what I need to do is I need to do 3.5 divided by 2 in order to work out what 1/5 is. So half of 3.5 divided by 2 leaves me with 1.75 litres. Okay, so now that I know that 1/5 equals 1.75 litres, then I need to somehow get from 1/5 here over to 3/5 up here. So to get from 1/5 to 3/5, I'm going to times it by 3, okay? So that means I need to do 1.75 litres multiplied by 3. If you can't do that mentally, don't worry at all. Let's stick it in the column method. 1.75 times 3. I've got 5 times 3 gives me 15. 1 and 5. 7 times 3 gives me 21. Plus the 1 is 22. 1 times 3 gives me 3. Plus the 2 gives me 5. Now I had 2 digits in the decimals. So that's going to leave me with 2 digits in the decimals this time. And that means that I've got 5.25 litres, because 5.25 litres is equal to my 3/5, which we were saying earlier is my yellow paint. So again, by breaking it up into reading and underlining together, choosing what it was that I needed to do, I needed to find 3/5. I needed to solve that by finding the 3/5. First, I found 1/5. I multiplied it by 3 to make it 3/5. Then that gave me my answer of 5.25. And now we just check it back and make sure that I've done everything correctly. I understood it all and that I've answered the question correctly, that it was saying how many litres of yellow paint does it use. Yes, it was 5.25. Check back my multiplication and make sure that I used all of the extra digits that were carried over. And I'm just making sure as well that when I divided by 2, all of my operations I've done correctly. 3.5 divided by 2 was definitely 1.75. Okay, now moving on to the next one, question 22. For being the second to last question on the SATs reasoning test, I didn't think this one was too horrible, but maybe they were holding out for that last one because that was a real tough one, so wait on for that one at the end. Now, as usual, I'm going to use my rucksack just to make sure that I definitely read the question correctly and I answer the right thing. So on this number line, 3 is halfway between the missing number and 10. write the missing number. Now, if I know that 3 is exactly halfway between here and here, then I know that whatever this is the exact same as whatever this is. So here, between 10 and 3, my gap is 7. So I know that this is also going to be a gap of 7. So I need to minus 7 going in this direction. So 3 minus 7 is going to take me past 0 and is going to give me minus 4. Now the second part of this question, also worth 1 mark down here, is a little bit different, but not too much. It tells me that what is the number halfway between 20 and minus 100. So first I need to work out what is the whole distance, what is the difference between the whole way, and then I can work out the halfway from there. So first, what is the whole difference there? From minus 100 all the way, I like to get back to 0 and use it as my baseline. So if I'm saying that 0 is about here, because it's much closer to 20 than minus 100, then I know that I've got 100 to get back to 0. So that was 100. And then to get up here to 20 is another 20. So the whole distance is 120. Now, in order for us to find what half of that is, and to find the halfway point here, I need to half 120. Well, that's 60. So I need to have a 60 difference between 20 and my middle, and a 60 difference between minus 100 and my middle. Now, that's your choice. If you would rather start at 20 and minus 60, or if you'd rather start at minus 100 and add 60. Personally, I'm going to do it from the minus 100 side. So that's going to take me to minus 40. And make sure you've remembered that we are in the minus here. We're in negative numbers. I am just going to double check here and make sure that it works from the other side too. So I'm also going to start at 20. Getting back to 0 is another 20. And then to make the whole of that 60 is another 40. Go 40 back from my 0 to get me to minus 40. Now moving on to the final question in this SATS reasoning paper, question 23. This is the one that they tried to make the trickiest one, but it was also worth 2 marks down here. Okay, so let's go through our read, underline, choose, solve, answer, and check my rucksack here. Okay, so let's start this question here. William asked some children to choose their favourite club. That's not too important, so I'm not underlining any of that. The pie chart shows the results. Lovely, let's move on down to here. Here is my pie chart. 3 children chose swimming. Okay, so this was 3 children. How many children did William ask all together? So how many all together with the amount of children we need to learn about? All of the children in total. Now, this looks like a bit of a tricky question because there's lots of words. There's a whole pie chart, which already might make it a little bit tricky for some people. There's a piece here that is missing and it doesn't have any fraction or percentage. And then equally, they've put some of the clubs in fractions and they've put some of them in percentages just to really try and confuse you. So I'm choosing now, and step 1 for me is to put all of them in the same unit. So either putting them into fractions or percentages. I would choose to put them into percentages first. As I've already got 30% and 20%, then that's great. Also, that tells me that this line here is going to be exactly half because here I've got 50%. Not that that changes my answer, but it's just good facts to know. Now, 1/5 as a percentage, I need to divide my 100% by 5, which is going to give me 20%, because in a whole pie chart, it's going to make 100%. Equally, I've got 1/4, and I know from my fractions and percentage facts that that is equal to 25%. So here in gym, I've got 20%, and here in drama, I've got 25%. And I'm going to get rid of that just to give me a little bit more space as well. Now what I want to do is I want to work out all of the pie chart without swimming included. So I'm going to try and work out this whole piece here, this giant Pac-Man. I've got 20% plus 25% plus 20% again for art, and then plus 30%. The percent I've put here is definitely unnecessary, my mistake. Okay, how much does that give me in total? Well, adding those together, I've got 40 plus 30 is 70, plus 25 gives me 95%. So the whole pie chart minus swimming is 95%. So what percent is swimming? Well, if 95% is everything else, that leaves me with 5% for swimming. And I know that that is true now. As we said before, the whole pie chart is 100%. How do I get from my 5% here up to 100%? What do I need to do to the 5 to get to 100? Well, I know that 5 times 20 equals 100. Okay, as our final answer is wanted to be as children and not percent, I need to look at the number of children. So 3 children. I'm going to do the same thing that I did to my percent, so I need to do 3 multiplied by 20 in order to find the whole amount of children. So 3 multiplied by 20 gives me 60. So William asked 60 children in total. Now remember as well to check your answer at the end. I'm just going to make sure it was definitely 3 children here for swimming. 1/5 is equal to 20%. 1/4 is 25%. I added that up and that made 95%. Checking that as well here. That leaves 5% for swimming. So my 3 children is equal to 5%. 5 times 20 gives me 100. And lastly, 3 times 20, because I'm doing the same thing for the children as I did with the percent, gives me 60. So 60 children. Keep an eye out for part 2 of this video, where I'm going to go through the tricky questions from the end of the other reasoning test from 2026. If you found this video helpful, then please subscribe, like the video, and check out more on my channel. I've got loads of English and maths videos on there for you. Thanks and bye.